if he's thinking of you, why won't he just call? You check your phone again, nothing, silence. But something inside you whispers, he's thinking about me, I can feel it. And you're right, he is. But the question that haunts you, why won't he reach out if he misses me? That question burns a hole through your chest, because silence can hurt more than goodbye. Let's go deeper. Let's go deeper. Not surface level advice. Not, he's just busy. You deserve more than that. You deserve to understand what your intuition already knows, what your logic can't explain. There's the truth no one tells you. And it's he misses you, but his ego won't let him dial the number. See, some men are not at war with you, they are at war with their own reflection. And your love, your presence, your remembrance touches something in him that he doesn't know how to face. Carl Jung understood one truth many run from, that what we resist in others is often what we've disowned in ourselves. And when a man is disconnected from his emotional world, your presence doesn't just comfort him, it confronts him. Your softness reveals the brittle walls he's built. Your vulnerability highlights the numbness he's normalized. Your depth makes the shallows of his own heart impossible to ignore. So yes, he's thinking of you. Yes, he's revisiting the warmth he gave. Yes, he's wondering if you've moved on, if someone else gets to hear your laugh now. But the moment he thinks of calling, the ego steps in. And ego isn't allowed. Ego is sneaky. It says, what if she doesn't pick up? What if she's already gone? What if I look weak? Or worse, what if she still loves me and I mess it up again? You see, ego protects a wound. And for many men, that wound is ancient. It was carved long before you, when vulnerability was punished, when feelings were buried, when being a man meant being silent. So when you offered emotional safety, his system didn't recognize it. It mistook comfort for danger. That's the tragedy. You gave him the very thing he never had, but also the thing he doesn't yet know how to hold. And now he sits in silence. Not because he's cold, not because he meant nothing, but because to admit he still cares would mean confronting all the reasons he pushed you away in the first place. He doesn't call because love requires courage. And courage requires vulnerability. And vulnerability, for a man who has armored his heart his whole life, feels like exposure, like weakness, like failure. So he waits, hopes the feeling will pass, tells himself he'll reach out first, convinces himself silence is power. But it's not power, it's paralysis. Emotional immaturity in a suit of emotional control. You're not crazy for feeling the connection still pulsing between you, but you're not supposed to be the bridge he walks across when it's convenient. You are not the safety net for a man afraid to fall, because you've been the one sitting in stillness, wondering if he should have done more. But let me be clear, his silence is not your responsibility to decode. You did enough. You were relevant. You showed up. And no, now your power lies in letting the silence speak for itself. Let's shift the mindset now. When he thinks of you, it's because something in you activated something in him. A memory, a truth, a feeling, a mirror. But healing isn't about waiting for someone to realize your worth. It's about never forgetting it yourself. You are not hard to love. You are hard to forget. You are not too emotional. You're emotionally alive. You are not overwhelming. You are unforgettable. And when you ask yourself, why didn't he call? Remember, the man who's afraid to meet you in your fullness is not a lust, he's a lesson. And one day, when he's scrolling through old memories and feeling the ache of what he let go, you'll already be living in the love you deserve, not because you chased it, but because you chose it within yourself first. You don't need closure from someone who was never open. You don't need to be the exception in a pattern of emotional avoidance. And you certainly don't need to keep proving your worth a call. Because here's the truth. You are the call. You are the awakening. You are the reflection he wasn't ready to face. And if he's not ready now, let him stay where his ego feels safe. You got a life to live, a heart to protect, and a love to give that doesn't beg to be recognized. It simply is. And it will be met not with silence, but with presence. You say, okay, not back to the ache, yeah, but forward into your power. How can someone long for you yet feel threatened by your love? It doesn't make sense, does it? You offer warmth and he shivers. You offer understanding and he pulls back like drowning. You aren't asking for too much. You're giving what most only dream of receiving. And still, his silence echoes louder than your presence ever did. Carl Jung understood one truth most people ignore. What we fear most in others is often what we have not healed within ourselves. Your love, your vulnerability, your emotional depth, these are not flaws, these are forces. And for a man who has not yet met his own emotional truth, those forces feel like earthquakes. To love, you would mean to see himself, and to see himself clearly, without distraction, without masks, is terrifying for someone who's only ever survived by hiding. You think you broke something. But what really happened is this. You touched a part of him he spent years trying to bury. Your presence awakens. Your love disarms. You see past the surface is carefully curated. And for someone who equates control with safety, that kind of emotional nakedness feels like danger. So he runs. Not because you are too much, but because you are too true. And that's the thing no one tells you. Some men aren't afraid of losing you. They're afraid of what it would take to truly have you. Because to have you means showing up, softening, being seen. And if he's not ready to meet himself there, how can he meet you? But don't shrink. Don't apologize for being the mirror. Because the fact that he couldn't hold your love, it doesn't mean you're unlovable. It means your love revealed. A revelation is a painful gift to those still hiding. So here's the closure you deserve. You didn't scare him away. You just lit a light he wasn't ready to face. He's not the measure of your worth. And his silence is not the verdict on your value. Let this truth settle deep into your bones. You are not intimidating. He is unprepared. Keep being the light. The right soul won't flinch. So he will rise to meet you. Full circle from confusion to clarity. From ache to empowerment. From dimming down to shining enter. What if his silence isn't rejection, but hesitation, dressed in fear? You wait, you wonder, you replay every text, every glance, every moment where it felt real, because it was real. But now, he's distant, like you dreamed it all. But here's a truth most never say out loud. He's not always pulling away because he doesn't care. Sometimes he cares too much and doesn't know what to do with it. But Carl Jung understood one truth we keep forgetting. The things we desire most often terrify us the deepest. Your presence awakens something raw in him. You are not a temporary thrill. You are an emotional earthquake. And that shakes the foundation of a man who's never been taught to feel, only to fix, to prove, to perform. He's wired to chase, but when the chase ends and depth begins, he panics. Because suddenly it's not about winning you, it's about holding you. And that demands a version of him he hasn't met yet. You offer connection, he feels exposure. You offer stability, he fears confinement. You offer truth, and he's still clinging to his armor. This isn't your failure. This is his unpreparedness. And in that delay, in his silence, don't shrink. Don't become smaller to fit his fear. Don't water yourself down just to be easier to swallow. You are not too much. He is simply not yet ready. And love that's ready, it doesn't ghost. It doesn't run. It stays. It grows. It leans in. So here's your truth, full circle. You're not waiting to be chosen. You're learning who's brave enough to stand in your light. And that is not something you chase. That is something that aligns. Why does it hurt more when he pulls away right after it finally felt safe? That moment when you let your guard down, when your heart whispered, maybe this time it's real, and then distance, confusion, silence. It leaves you spiraling, doesn't it? You thought love meant opening, giving, trusting, and yet the very act of letting him in seems to be what pushed him away. But here's the paradox Carl Jung understood deeply. When a man has not confronted his own emotional chaos, intimacy doesn't soothe him, it threatens him. He sees your emotional presence not as a sanctuary, but as a spotlight on the wounds he's avoided. And so he pulls away, not from you, but from what you represent, truth, depth, vulnerability. The very medicine he needs feels like poison to the unhealed version of him. But still, you sit there wondering what you did wrong, shrinking your power, questioning your intuition, rewriting yourself in hopes he'll return. But hear this, you didn't lose him when you loved him. You revealed him. You uncovered his limits. You stirred the parts of him he keeps buried beneath distractions, detachment, and denial. And in doing so, you offered him a mirror, one he may not yet be strong enough to look into. But don't confuse his retreat with a reflection of your worth. This is not a punishment, it's a protection. You are not being abandoned, you are being redirected towards someone capable of meeting you in your fullness. So don't dim. Don't detach from yourself to stay attached to him. Remember, you're not too much, you're just no longer willing to be less. And that power, that's the very thing that will magnetize the love that can stand still when others flee. So come back to you, because the one who won't run is not behind you. He's waiting for the version of you that refuses to change, what's afraid to stay. That's your full circle. Why does it feel like the more you show him your soul, the more invisible you become? You gave him warmth, softness, the kind of love that sees into the cracks, and somehow he vanished deeper into himself. One day he's attentive, open, leaning in. The next, he's distant, unreadable, gone cold. And you're left whispering your worth into the silence he left behind. But Carl Jung understood one truth that echoes through every unspoken goodbye. What we refuse to face within ourselves, we run from in others. You see, a woman who feels deeply becomes a mirror to a man who hasn't dared to look inward. Your emotional honesty doesn't scare him because it's wrong. It scares him because it's real, and realness demands presence, accountability, transformation. But if he's not ready to evolve, your love becomes too loud for the parts of him still hiding, so he pulls away. Not because you overwhelmed him, but because you illuminated a truth he's not yet prepared to meet. And here's where the heartbreak twists deeper. You start believing that if you were less, maybe he would have stayed. Less expressive, less available, less you. But what if the very depth that made him retreat is also the depth that will one day call in a partner who won't flinch, a man who won't see your fire and run, but sit beside it, protect it, add his own flame to it. Because your emotional richness is not a burden, it's a blueprint for a conscious connection. You're not too intense. You're just no longer available for surface level love. So here's your full circle. You didn't lose love. You lost what couldn't meet you in your night, and now you're not waiting for him to return. You're preparing for someone who sees you and says, finally, there you are.